I'm going to give you three observations about the innovation in my own eyes. I try to make it look like that you can actually see that how the innovation can be seen in everyday objects and everyday situations. It's just a matter of how you actually do that. Let's see whether the technology is our friend today. So the noise. So we are all covered by the noise every single day of our life. It's audio, it's visual, it's stress, it's psychological. We are covered with that every single day. And if you are covered with the noise, it's really hard to try to innovate new things that actually can work for the millions of people, or you create usability for another million of people. So I'm talking about that kind of noise, and how do you actually can close it down? So the first innovation is actually on this ceiling. This is from Hearst Castle in San Simeon, California. And I visited that, so this is a picture I took actually there. And I was fascinated about this wooden ceiling. I think it's gorgeous. It is actually originally from Spain, and it was brought there by Mr. Hearst, and he's a wonderful architect. And I just was wondering there when I was standing there watching that how does that stay up there? Because I cannot see how it actually stays there. And when I was looking that, I was actually I didn't realize at that point, but I wanted to study more about the wooden ceilings as such. And I didn't realize that actually I was watching probably the best innovation in the mankind. And did you see that, by the way? Did you see the innovation there? It was right there. Honestly, I mean it. Screw. So screw is like a wonderful innovation. It's like a perfect, because screw is actually, everybody knows what is it, everybody knows what does it do, and everybody knows how to use that, and it's very cheap. So screw is like a fantastic thing. So then I started study a little bit more about the screws, and what I actually found out that screw was not actually intended initially to be binding things together or attaching. It was actually meant to be lifting the water from the river. That's why the Archimedes screw was actually invented. Then in the 15th century, it came to jewelry. So they needed something that they can make those kind of fine jewelry pieces, and then the metal screws were invented, and the actually wooden screws, which were holding that ceiling there up in the ceiling, was actually invented 18th century. Nowadays, we take screws for granted. So a modern car has about 200 screws and bolts. In iPhone 6, iPhone 6 Plus, you have those two screws there which are visible, so it means that they are there for the aesthetics, but they actually hold the whole construction together too. So when you take those away, you can actually tear up the iPhone 6 apart. But screws are still there, and sometimes they need to be invisible, sometimes they need to be visible. But you can even see screws inside a human body. So you can see that the utilization of something that was actually not intended to do that first, it has become something that we don't actually live without nowadays. So the first observation for my innovation through noise is actually that you need to find the new utilities. Probably some things that could help you on your industry or in your segment is already existing in some other form or in some other context. They are already out there, but you just need to find out how you can actually make the new utilizations work there. The second innovation, it's a little bit kills the buzz, when it kind of does that. So let's figure out what's the everyday commodity. Sure. Okay, so one of the most frequent thing I have heard in my career is that when you're working with the service, when you're working with the product, is of course the features and the thing called feature creep. And when you talk about that, then if you turn it around, let's take a product that only has one feature, and that feature is all it does. Everybody knows that it's all it's supposed to be doing, and this is not actually what I was going to show. I was going to show this. This is what you see in the supermarket or Walmart and that sort of things. You can actually see endless lines of different shampoo bottles still doing that one feature. They get your hair clean. But if you kind of start digging deeper about the whole thing, our team did a very quick user study for other people that what makes you select a certain shampoo. And they were mentioning, for example, the brand, the package, how eco-friendly it is. And I like especially this gentleman over here with the special problem, which is balding. That was very courageous to say. But anyway, all these 5 people already have a different values that they actually want to sell. So you can actually start thinking that even though the product can have a simple value as just kind of having one feature, it can still have, for example, 5 different product values. And through these values, you can actually start innovating something better. Like, for example, Fructis has a really bright green bottle, but I don't know if you know that they also have a red bottle that doesn't sell that much. So this is how you actually start doing different things. So it doesn't necessarily need to be adding a feature. It just needs to be adding a product value that you can actually provide. And here's a wonderful example one of our designers found out about the Volco products. That tennis ball is like a fantastic idea. I don't know who came up with it, but I think that should kind of deserve some kind of prize. So if anybody's having IF award or somebody there, nominate that, please. I pressed the click, so let's see what does it do. Yes, it did it. Transporting people, let's figure out what is it about. So transporting people. Transporting people has been there around for ages, actually. So if you want to go from place A to B, you need somebody to take you there, whether it's a further away or really close, etc. And you don't want to go actually to the stations that you want to go from exactly where you are to the point to exactly where you want to go. And that was usually done by taxis, of course. The taxi was something that was actually invented 16th century in Paris and London, where there was called hackney. And they were actually horse carriages, but it did the same thing. And the taxi has been very popular, but as already Yves Behar actually explained, that has been kind of tremendously, I didn't even press anything. So that has been completely innovated again. So everybody who has actually used Uber service know that it's much more convenient. It's still doing the same thing, gets you from place A to place B, but it still does the same thing. But there are some new standard that it actually has created, which taxi industry hasn't done. So first of all, you actually know who's going to pick you up. You know where he or she is. You know what's the estimated time of arrival. You know estimated fare. You know actually that how you're going to. You don't need to take your wallet with you up against it. Just go basically. So how convenient is that actually? And if you think about it now, that why would you even start using taxi anymore? Because if taxi industry and the service doesn't provide that kind of new standard, then it's going to be extinct. So sometimes innovation takes the old solution and it actually innovates a new experience standards that are not yet there. But when they actually get accustomed, then the whole service will be better. And I think that I hope many of you actually used parking service Zergs. I think they have a little bit of the same thing, like valet everywhere. It's a perfect. You don't need to start kind of driving around San Francisco city center trying to find a parking slot, which actually costs you a lot of money. And I hope they do really well because they actually are doing the same thing. They are setting a new standard. And this is one way that you can actually innovate new things when you don't take anything for granted. So if you go to a design school, which quite proudly actually say to you that you need to ask a lot of questions when you want to design something new. And I seconded that opinion completely. Of course, you need to ask questions before you can actually do something innovative or something nice design. But as a designer, as a product manager, as a product creator, you actually need to be doing and giving some answers to those ones. So just asking questions doesn't get you anywhere unless you actually try to find the answers. And I hope that through these 3 examples that I have given you, you actually can start seeing that how can you block the noise and how can you see something that you may have taken for granted as an opportunity to create something completely different and hopefully better. Should be thanks.